Krishna Keshava Swami. I'm so very happy that you are here in Haastrecht with us in Sekieta, aan de Hollandse IJssel. Sekieta aan de Hollandse IJssel. I heard you many times on YouTube. I saw you on several occasions. But please, will you tell the audience, the people, the watchers who are watching us, who you are, where are you from, and what do you do exactly?
Thank you so much. Yeah, my original family is from India, and so I grew up with that Indian culture, but I grew up in London. And when I was about 15 or 16, I went on a spiritual search, questioning the meaning and purpose of life. And after graduating from university, I went to live in India for 6 months, living with the monks and exploring my purpose. And then I decided to become a monk when I was 21. And so I've been a monk now for, coming up to 25 years. And a few years ago, I took vows of lifetime monasticism or renunciation. And so nowadays I travel the world to many different countries and in different places, everything from corporate firms to universities to our communities, to interviews. I just try to share wisdom in a way that can help people in their life.
Thank you. And just to make clear, you're living as a monk. Will you tell the audience, how does a day of a monk looks like?
We rise with the sun, so we're usually up in the morning before 3 or 4 o'clock. And we spend the first few hours of the day meditating, reading, reflecting, and basically realigning ourselves with our deepest aspirations and desires. And then what we do is during the day as monks, all the monks do different things. So we teach, we also do welfare work, we try to make society a better place. We have farms, we do many different things in which we try to practically make a contribution to the world. And like this, we try to live our spirituality and share our spirituality.
Will you tell the people what brings Krishna consciousness to the persons? What makes them so happy? What does it do? Because people who see it for the very first time, they think those guys are nuts. You noticed. But what is it? Why makes it? What is the essence? What brings the switch in people that they dance in the streets and that they chant and do all those things? Please, will you explain to us?
Yes. Smiling, singing, and laughter and joy is the universal language of the soul. For most people, they are trying to experience these things from the body. And so, as Hare Krishnas, as spiritual people, we're trying to share with them that they can experience the real joy and happiness and enjoyment of life when they connect with themselves as spiritual beings. And that's why the Hare Krishnas are always happy.
That's a beautiful answer. Maharaj, may I ask you a more personal question? When in your life, you're very young, as still young person, when in your life you realized that Krishna, that God is the very most important person in your existence, not someone in the sideline or between 10 and 11 on Sunday morning, but it's your life. You are everywhere, every day, telling people, listening to people, being patient with people. But when was there the realization that you thought, okay, God is for me everything? When did you realize this? And how did you cope with yourself? Because it must have been a shock somehow.
When I was young, a philosopher actually I read, he said, the most pressing question in life is, why do we exist in the first place? And when I read that, I was always fascinated, because I realized until and unless I answer this one question, I won't know what to do with my life. Because first we have to know who we are and why we're here. And so I looked for answers in different places, but the only answer which made any sense to me was an answer which included knowledge of God. That there's a God, that He created this world for a reason, that we have a relationship with Him, and that if we connect with that purpose, then everything else we're doing in life will make sense. And so it was actually very, very natural to put this relationship first, because once you have this one relationship, every other relationship, every other effort that you make in life, it all begins to make sense. And so now I find that my relationship with God relates to everything I do in life, because God is not separate from anything, but He's involved in every aspect of our life.
Wow, it's also a very beautiful answer. I know, I'm told, I experienced, we do have a guru, a spiritual master, and before you, there are many people, they that they know to tell you how to reach God, but how you know and how you feel, and when you decided that spiritual master came in your life and he was the one who was able to bring you back to Godhead. Perhaps the first question is, because of not everyone realizes what is a spiritual master. You are now a spiritual master, but before you had also the help, the support of your own spiritual master, and you chose him and you found him, or he found you, and when you knew he was the one for you. And first, excuse me, is the question, what does a guru, what does a spiritual master, what does a spiritual teacher do for his and with his disciple, please?
I guess the most simple way to explain it is, a guru is someone who knows the way to God, but also the guru is someone who goes the way to God. They're doing it themselves. And the third thing is that the guru is one who shows the way to God. And so if you meet someone who has all the answers, but more than that, if they're also living that and practicing it in their own life, and more than that, if they're able to encourage and empower you to do the very same thing, then you can understand that that person is your guru. And so when I met my spiritual master, I thought, he can answer all my questions. And then I started spending time with him, observing him, and I was like, he's also living this in his life.
Will you mention his name, please? Tell about
Keshava Swami. And then when I asked him questions of how I could also be like him, although you can never be like your guru, his answers also transformed my life, and he was able to show me how I could also do it.
What was the first time when you met him? Was it in England? Was it in... How you met him, actually? When you saw him for the very first time? I do remember. I remember when I saw him for the very first time. Do you remember?
Yeah. The first time I ever saw Keshava Swami was probably in the late 90s, and I saw him in India. And my first impression of him was that he's very serious. Actually, it's the complete opposite. But when I saw him, I only saw him for a short time, and his expression was very serious. But two things came to my mind. He's very serious, but I think he's also very deep. And so those were my first two. I just saw him in passing. And then I met him in the early 2000s when I was living as a monk in London. And at that time I remembered him because he would wake up very, very early. and he would chant very, very loudly, and he would wake us all up. And I thought, wow, he's so strict about his spiritual practice. But yeah, I just felt it's hard to actually describe, but it's when I met him sometime later, it wasn't even an intellectual thing, but I just realized this is the person who will guide me in my life. And it was very mystical because there was no like rational reason in one sense. It was just really from the heart.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful. And I can imagine that there came a point in your lives that you also discussed it, because as we know, Guru Maharaj Keshava Swami, he left this planet several years ago now, and he knew he was going to leave the planet. So during this period of time, I might imagine that the two of you have been talking about. He had so many disciples, and you're also a spiritual master. Did he ask you something about how is your relationship with his disciples? Because life is hard, life is difficult. I mean, people need so much guidance. Did he discuss those things with you? Is it a private perhaps?
No.
Tell me.
We had many conversations about this topic, and one thing he often said, he said, my disciples are very, very unique. They're all free spirits, they're all colorful and charismatic in their own ways. And he said they're very, very creative and they can do many, many things, but they need someone in their life who accept them as they are and encourage them and not judge them. And he said, and I don't think he just said that to me, but he said, yeah, if you can do that, if you can accept them for who they are and encourage them from where they are. And as I travel around the world and I meet my God brothers and God sisters, I'm so impressed by them and their devotion. And I think they will all do amazing things. And if we can all help and support and encourage each other, I think that will make him happy.
For sure, I'm sure he's very, very happy with you, what you do for us all. Might there come a time that you are also giving initiation to new people?
Yeah, Keshava Swami did tell me to do that service. Maybe that will happen in, I don't know when, 2, 3, 4 years time, whenever the devotees tell me. But yeah, we are not anything great. You know, when we first came to the temple, they told us to cut vegetables, and now we become a spiritual master, and we just see it like that. It's another service. And just like we were able to do so much because someone put faith in us, so it's a great honor to be able to try to do that service for someone else, because we would not be where we are if someone didn't take that responsibility.
Yes, it would be great. I think so many people are waiting for that.
Yeah.
I feel, who am I? But the last question for you, because you have at your side Citraleka, Devidasi, and for her are also a few questions in Dutch, but please, will you share with us, the audience, a nice story about you and Keshava Swami and your Krishna consciousness? That, please.
Many things. Well, I'll share with you something that he said to me, which I reflect on every day. He, at a certain point in my life, told me that I should accept the renounced order of life and take the vow to be a Swami. And my nature is that I'm always very nervous. I'm always very kind of apprehensive about things. So, but he's very convincing. So we had that conversation. And then the next day I came back to him and I said, you told me to do it, but I have like doubts. And then I started sharing with him why I felt that maybe it's not the right time. And he didn't interrupt me. He let me say everything. Normally he would interrupt me. But this time he let me say everything. And then he looked at me and he said something which I remember to this day. He said, don't always be fearful about what could go wrong, but instead start getting excited about what could go right. And he said, don't allow your life to be driven by fear. Rather, let your life be driven by your dreams. And then he looked at me and he said, yes, it's a risk. Everything's a risk. But if you take a risk and you do it with sincerity for Krishna, you will meet Krishna on the other side. And so I try to remember that.
These are beautiful words. Thank you so much for sharing with us.